Hey everyone, Jacob with Scooters Lawn Care here in Cape Coral, Florida, and today we are talking about the 3 most common landscape issues caused by heavy rains here in Southwest Florida. This is something that this time of year you're always going to be dealing with. We get into the rainy season and it just seems like, that 2, 3, 4, sometime in the afternoon, I can actually see the rain coming in now off the corner of my office, that we just get hammered and get hit really, really hard. It gets to where you can't mow ditches, you have a lot more opportunity to get equipment stuck, there's all kinds of stuff. But 3 of the most common things that come up that we see that are a huge problem for homeowners are 1, erosion. Erosion is a nightmare. You might have a high flow area of your property where grass establishment hasn't really been that great, or landscape beds that are gone, or just bare dirt area where erosion starts digging into the lawn, starts washing out, starts pushing your yard around, and it's something that can be very, very unsightly. It can be dangerous because you can roll your ankle and the kind of grooves and holes that can create, and it can just be a maintenance problem. And one of the best things for that is making sure you've got a nice established lawn to really help absorb and take, and not even so much absorb, but make sure there's something to hold together that top layer of soil so it doesn't have erosion so heavy when we get these big rains. That's really one of the things we fight with the most when we're doing new sod installations this time of year, is we will scrape an entire yard, which means we'll get all the existing sod and organic material off of that yard and bear it down to the sand and soil that it is in preparation for the new sod. And in that time from when we finish that to get the new sod down, sometimes we'll just get blasted by so much rain that we have to do more grading on the property to get it back in shape to be able to actually do the job we originally set out and intended to do. Number 2, mulch and bed material washout. This is another thing that as a homeowner, this is a nightmare. We get these heavy rains, and when you get an inch, you get 2 inches, and it just falls all at once. It floods beds, it moves mulch, it moves rubber mulch. Sometimes if the rock there's enough water flow, it can even move rock. And this is something that we see it is super, super common. And mulch is one of our favorite materials because it's really, really cost effective. It looks good. It provides moisture retention for plants, and it is a little bit cooler, so it can be a little bit, you can grow great plants in rock as well, but because it doesn't seem to, it's not even the coolness, it's the ability to hold water, I think, more than anything, but it can be a little bit easier for plants to thrive in it without so much irrigation assistance or watering assistance. And although it is one of our favorite materials, it's super cost effective. Mulch is getting made very, very close to here, so you're not having to rail this stuff in from up very, very far out of our state, which adds a lot to the cost of other products like rock. But so it's an awesome material, but it's one thing that you're gonna have to deal with in the rainy season. And so there are a couple things you can do. 1, you can just bare your teeth, know it's gonna happen. Try to set up your beds so it doesn't all wash out and it kind of be raked back around and smoothed out. 2, you can just, here again, know that this is going to happen, and you get on the cadence of, we're gonna get heavy rains, we're gonna probably mulch in the spring, and then after rainy season passes, we'll mulch again to fix everything. And 3, this is an option that we do on some properties, and it does work in perfect applications, but not all of the time, and that is mulch stabilizer. And this is a material we can spray on the mulch, and you as a homeowner, you can do this too. It doesn't have to be our company. You can look up mulch stabilizer, mulch glue, any of this stuff, and you can spray it on your beds, and it binds all of the material together so it's less likely to wash away from rain. So that's another option for you to use on your beds. So plan accordingly. Try to build the beds so they don't get as much washout. Some beds are just designed to where it's going to wash down off the side of the bed. It's going to blow up over the curving or edge, and it's just going to be gone. Other beds are a little bit flatter and a little bit better built to not allow so much washout. And then finally, just rehashing this, using some kind of mulch stabilizer to hold that mulch. And really, that's going to be the most important to hit right before rainy season starts. You don't even really need that so much in the off season. So that's another huge problem. And then finally, drainage issues. So many areas here are flat. So many areas we get pooling in a backyard, or we get water that needs to be moved off of that site onto a better site for it to disperse into the ground or flow into the natural waterway. And this is another thing that this may mean that you have to do piping and drains and drain caps and all kinds of basins on your property just to move water from one location to another location. This might mean that there needs to be French drains underground ground to not just have the basins to accept the surface water, but the French drain to absorb water actively going into the ground. Here again, get that off site. So these are things that some of it can be DIY, some of it can be done if it's small pretty easily. Most drainage projects are big though. We just did a big one in Fort Myers recently. It required an excavator. It required thousands and thousands of dollars of material. It required a lot of labor. It was just a lot of work. So drainage is a huge problem when we get lots of rain. When you see this, especially if you're new to the area, you're going to see this present itself and you're going to get to see like what may need to be done. Certain areas, you just need to let the water go down. Certain areas, it pools though, and it just takes forever. And there is an opportunity to fix that. Maybe fix a backyard that is just pooling and you don't ever get the water to recess enough to where you can even mow your whole lawn. But these are some of the common issues in drainage and all of the work that goes into drainage, from piping to the front of a property to French drains and creating other creative ways to absorb water and make a lawn more usable are big challenges this time of season. But those are all things we can help with, or at least guide you in the direction of what you may be able to do on your own to see things a little drier and a little better and a little more usable in your property. So we hate these problems, but we know we've got to deal with them. We've got to deal with erosion. We've got to deal with mulch beds, landscape beds, having washout of material. And finally, we've got to deal with drainage. And a lot of times drainage might be able to fix the other ones. It can fix the erosion because we can carry water from one place to the other. It can fix bed washout because we can put gutter downspouts that go under a bed instead of flooding beds. Beds so often just have downspouts that pour right into them. And of course, it's going to add to the flooding of the bed. It's not just the rain, it's the whole roof that gets poured out and blasts out into the bed. So these three things and the drainage that we're talking about, they can all work and go together to make each other even more suitable and even easier to deal with in the wet season.